Welcome to Old Guy Tech,
the OGT.TV recording studio.
Technology for the rest of us.
Hi, this is Rob Charney, Old Guy Tech TV interviews, and we're here today with Tim Palmer, who is running for Supervisor District 4. Thank you so much, Tim, for coming into Old Guy Tech TV and being part of the show. We really appreciate you coming in. And, what we really want to do is get to know you a bit, and, what's your passion, and, why are you running for Supervisor, and why don't you just go ahead and start by telling us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. So I moved to El Dorado County 29 years ago and started teaching at Northside School. And I've taught third grade all the way up through high school, which I teach now at Golden Sierra High School. I teach history. I've taught civics and economics, social psychology, lots of different things. And
the good stuff.
It is good stuff. It's
I love it.
To me, world history is the best.
Oh,
it's just so interesting, all the dynamics. So I do that. I also teach night school at Sierra College. I have a master's in political science that I got because I thought it would be fun to do.
Yeah.
And with that, I got to do 2 internships for a state senator. And those internships allowed me to look into politics in a different way. At Sierra College, where I did my associate's degree, I was student body president, which came with the caveat of being the student member of the board of trustees. And they allowed me, the first one, I think in the North State at least, to be to be able to make and second motions, which was really neat because it entered me into the world of politics, adult world. And I started to go,
real thing.
This is how stuff is done.
Yeah.
And this is the research, and this is the politicking inside the college.
Right.
And so my big victory was, we allowed a student fee for parking. It was a one-time fee.
Oh, okay.
Of course, after I graduated, they put it into perpetual fee.
Of course.
But, you have a small victory for a while.
Let's call it what it is. What is it, tax? But
Yes. Yeah.
Anyway, right? So
I have a wife and a daughter, and my daughter graduates from Golden Sierra this year, and she'll be off to college.
Good for her.
And my wife's a paralegal, legal secretary in Auburn, with one of the oldest law firms in the state, and it's been a really good life. Done a lot of volunteer work in my community. Helped with little things like boarding up the Bailey House.
Oh, sure.
In Pilot Hill,
yeah.
to keep it, from being taken down again and looted. Litter pickup, a lot of community work, working with youth in the community, Motherlode Church youth work, Young Life.
Yeah.
Golden Sierra High School. Did that for a number of years with Matt Souza, and just there's a great value to community. I was also a member of Cool Charity, which we started, accurately probably, the students that started are 30 now, so 18 years ago.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And raised money for basically kids' clothing and stuff.
Oh, sure.
For Christmas time.
Necessities.
Basic. You have kids asking for underwear and socks, and you got to do that.
Yeah.
And there's that separation between volunteerism, which so many of us do,
right, and
government, and what is the obligation of each, and the responsibility of each, and that's an important distinction. And I've never been stumped for money for a good cause when you want to do something. One girl, bone cancer, we raised, Perry King helped out as emceeing for that, and we raised about $45,000.
Wow.
Which was...
That's a huge amount of money.
It was a huge amount.
Yeah.
Yeah, we served, I think it was 630 dinners that night.
Wow.
And turned people away because, they went to eat dinner somewhere else, came back for the auctions, but it just gives you that feeling of we belong together, and that community that a lot of people go, well, no, it's politics. And I personally don't care a lot for politics. I do care a lot about good government and doing things well and taking care of our communities. And that's, I think...
and that's the problem. They have to be tied together. You have to become a political animal,
Well, I don't know about animal, but certainly need to be aware of what lurks.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, you've had such a passion for teaching. Are you ready to stop teaching?
That was the hard part, honestly.
Yeah.
My wife kept saying, "Well, are you going to do this?" Because I mentioned, I think I'd like to do this. I think I could, help out. And she kept saying about every month and a half. So have you made a decision? And I said, no. She goes, after 6, 8 months, she's like, why not? I said, it's a very difficult decision.
Yeah.
I've taught, and I love teaching, and I feel that I've done a good job.
Right.
And continue to do so. But it was one of those things that I would have to give that up.
Right.
And that's hard. But I feel there's a draw to do well on a wider level, to use the skills that I've learned over the years, working with the community, working with budgets, working on boards, working on committees, to use those skills to benefit more people.
Right.
And I don't have a great ego tied up into this.
Mm-hmm.
I love to teach, and I could continue to teach, but I could also do, I think, well for the county and for the people of the county.
We need people with the passion and that have the experience, and through your teaching, when I teach, because I still teach some stuff, I learn along with the students.
Right.
And it's a wonderful thing, and if you can work it out for you, that's great. That's that's a great way of doing it. So let's switch over to the political side, because you said you're not really a politician, and I understand that, because it's difficult to finally say, you know what, I guess I am a politician if I'm running for office, but you are, okay?
Okay.
So let's start with jobs.
Okay.
And we have a lot of, we would like to. Gosh, I would love to be able to keep my kids up in El Dorado County with a career, and not have to commute all the time. And, it seems like, what is it that El Dorado can do? How do we attract businesses? We've talked about the fact that many states, Texas, Florida, and a lot of states are coming into California and going, industry, please come to us. We'll give you X, Y, and Z.
Right.
And, it's hard to compete with that, to a certain degree. But I'll give an example, and you probably remember this because you were here. In the early '80s, Intel was shopping this area.
Right.
Right. So it came down to El Dorado County and Folsom.
Right.
So we were right there in the mix. So what happened? Intel came to El Dorado County and they said, "What will you help us with?" And unfortunately, at that time, the arrogance of our Board of Supers was, well, we're not going to give you anything. Your temp fees are this, your water is this. They went to Folsom. Okay, Folsom, what are you going to do for us? We're going to build you the roads. We're going to build you the overpass. We're going to give you water. We're going to take 10 years and you won't have to pay taxes. Gosh, I wonder who got Intel.
Right. And you can do an easy analysis, and then you can look at the details, and you can say, okay, now what did it cost the county in lost revenue to bring Intel there? But with Intel came all kinds of high restaurants,
Everything,
all kinds of businesses. And Folsom has attracted a lot of businesses. Now, Folsom has a plan right now, this is what I heard, that they can continue to build more houses and build more businesses, even though they don't have enough water, because their existing customers will in the future use 50% less water, so they have more water available. Now, when you start playing with ideas like that, you start to wonder really what's going on. Yeah. So I don't want to fudge things, and I don't want to be dishonest. We do need business in El Dorado County, good paying jobs, and we need poor paying jobs.
So we need jobs in general, right?
In general.
And there's both levels, professional and entry level, or barely live by level, I suppose. Right. So, you're right. We need that.
We do. And it's a very, very hard question. It's a very difficult question. If I don't want to say, let's say a catering business wants to come in and we go, great, catering business, and we give them a tax break that we're not giving an existing catering business, that we've just slapped the people that live here and have been paying taxes here. And that to me is a little sour. If it's a new business, different kind of business, that will work well with our community and help the other businesses.
Sure.
Absolutely. Let's work around that.
Well, I think your point is valid. I think, though, we're probably talking at a higher scale. I mean, I wouldn't come in here with my little studio and say, gee, I want everything free, to keep doing it here. Okay, there's reality there for you. But that's one of the best points I've heard yet out of anybody. You're absolutely right.
And with that, I don't have a good answer.
Yeah.
So, I'm willing to look at all kinds of different mitigating factors to make things work. That's fair as you can be.
Right.
That will draw jobs, will help the community. The tax base is important, but it's not the only thing. We can build a lot of houses, which bring in a lot of temporary jobs, but it doesn't build a strong tax base for the county.
You're right.
And as long as the shoppers keep going down the hill, both hills, then we continue to lose that sales tax, which is really valuable for the county.
Housing is not the answer. It's actually, infrastructure-wise, it's hard on the system more than helpful.
And the long term of that.
Yeah.
So you look at a 30-year cost of that housing for all the services of all the people and all the districts that go with that.
Right.
And it's tremendously expensive. Now, up front, it looks great.
Yeah.
You're building, it's exciting,
Yeah.
it's fantastic. But I think we have to be reasonable and rational.
I agree.
In that. And there's a lot of room to build and a lot of pre-approved projects already. So
Yeah.
we're looking at 16,000, I think, lots right now that you can go ahead and pull the permit
Yep,
and
ready to
build.
go. Yeah,
So it's the
yeah.
economy as a whole that has got us in a slump right now.
Yeah.
And that hurts everybody.
Yeah, when I was thinking about what we could attract here, one of the things that irks the heck out of me is that we don't have a Ford store in El Dorado County
Right.
anymore. Right? We lost Ford, and for whatever reason, maybe.
I drive a Chevy, but go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's okay. We like all kinds of different cars, but I was just thinking of that alone. The number one truck selling company, right, is Ford.
Right.
How many people around here do you know that drives pickup trucks? A lot of people.
A lot.
And I think, gosh, all that tech space is going down the hill, isn't here anymore, and that bothers me a little bit. And I think about the larger industries. Let's say, in the business park in El Dorado Hills, we actually have a company that's making submarines. Well, drone submarines, right?
Yeah.
And that you would think, well, submarines in El Dorado County?
Right.
No. And it's true, and they employ quite a few people. And we need industry maybe that way is what I'm looking at. And so one of the things that we always hear, and I haven't done the investigation, I probably should have, but one of the complaints is the TIM fees.
Right.
Okay, and it always seems to me that I'm being told by people looking at building either in El Dorado County or Amador or whatever it may be, and they go, it's less expensive down there.
Right.
And I don't know that it is, but maybe it is.
I did some research on it about 6 months ago because Ron Wolfsfeld came forward and said, "Hey Tim, you're running, you're excited. What do you think about TIM fees and getting them reduced? On
Right.
Granny Flats, decks, additions,
Yep.
And he wanted to get a 25% reduction. And I looked at the numbers and I went, that's not much for the county, but it could bring jobs. Could
Right.
local contractors working because there's not a lot going on.
Right.
And a lot of friends that I have that are contractors, they're driving to Bay Area, they're going to Sacramento, they're doing jobs out.
Whatever to live,
Which
yeah.
is okay.
Yeah.
But it's a pain.
Right.
And it's expensive.
And they don't really want to do that anymore.
No.
They'd much rather build here. But like we talked about, though, contracting business is a tough one. It's not what I consider the big business that we're really looking for, because my vision is, a large company with a green enough footprint that, we take care of our environment, we take care of our planet, but we also employ people from every skill level on up. I mean, we're talking from the janitors all the way up to the PhDs, and somehow attracting these kind of businesses into El Dorado County, by maybe giving them an incentive, something like, hey, you know what, we'll bring you roads in there, and we'll help with the hookup fees of water, and we'll give you a discount on taxes for a while.
Yeah, if it's a legit business that's going to stay.
Right, right.
And there are lots of counties doing the incentive programs, so you have to be careful that there's a long-term contract that you'll have a payback on it.
Right.
Or there's enough investment. like making a loan, you want to have that 20%
True.
collateral.
True. Yeah. But you can't predict the future. I mean,
No, you
there's a
can't.
number of businesses that were here, and we're in the business park, and we're doing great during the boom. And they didn't really have much to do with construction anyway. But when the boom hit, everybody stopped spending money, and
Right.
it affected them, and they went out.
Right.
So, none of us have a crystal ball that we can look in and say, okay, that business is going to be good for 10 years. After that, they're gone. There's no way of knowing that. So sometimes you have to take a little bit of risk on the county side, I think, and say, okay, what are we going to do to attract? Let's use the Ford example. Okay, obviously they're going to want Highway 50 footage of some kind, right? The visibility and all that, and then we want them to come in. So you mentioned about, all right, how is that fair to the existing businesses there? If we give a discount to a new store coming in, well, it's like putting on a sale. I mean, normally this microphone's $500, but it's, and I bought 5 of them, and a month later they came on sale for $300. Well, how's that fair for me? Well, it wasn't on sale, and it was months ago, so you kind of have to look at it, I think, same way.
I think case by case is important, but
oh yeah, absolutely, yeah, because we're not going to get 20 big businesses coming in El Dorado County.
But we do have
once.
a lot of small businesses. I think there's last count was something like 18,000 home businesses.
Absolutely.
And the internet connections, we've had lots of meetings that really haven't been productive to try to get the different kinds. But there's a low wave, low frequency television frequency that's can go through trees, which is wonderful.
Right.
So if these things come out in the next, actually, become productive,
Right.
and we get our bandwidth up, we can do a lot more home business.
Yes.
Because a lot of stuff, is intellectual.
Well, we have the same problem here, even in our studio here. We've had to go multiple ways, and our internet bills are very expensive because we're doing these high-end shows.
Right.
So there's our choice was either a T1, and folks, that's a big pipe compared to your little dial-up. And then we were lucky enough to get involved with Kelnet, who has a wireless program going on, and it's high speed, and it's wireless, and it's priced reasonably.
Yeah.
So it's it's decisions or companies like that we need to support.
Yeah, there's good competition.
Yeah.
So the price is reasonable. Our AT&T, hookups, they just offered a new customer discount, and we've been a customer for 29 years.
Yeah.
And the woman at AT&T said, "Well, we could, maybe I shouldn't say this, but we could offer it to you too." And that saved us $80 a month.
Sure. That's a
Between
big
all of
deal.
it's huge.
Yeah.
That's $1,000 almost.
Yeah.
So you look at what's reasonable. You look at what's good. You try to keep competition alive, to keep prices down, but not so much that you kill the businesses off. So
Right.
it's a mix. And I don't know that the board runs the businesses. We make the opportunities available, and help to
Absolutely.
welcome businesses, and also the quality of life part. I mean, we could do a lot of business. And lose a lot of quality of life. And we have a lot of rural and beauty and waterfalls. And there's a waterfall I'm not even telling people about,
Right.
Because I'm like, do we really want everybody from Sacramento to come up to that waterfall?
Yeah.
There's great trails and
Oh yeah.
wonderful
Oh, yeah.
sporting activities and leisure activities here.
Sure.
And we can overbuild.
Yeah.
And we have to be careful to match our communities and communities' interests. And,
Right.
and each of them have their own personalities. So we can't go, hey, let's dump this in this community. And they go, wait a minute, I
Yeah.
came here because we like horses.
Right.
So we have to be very cautious in being the
I
lord of
understand.
design.
Yeah, I understand, and I've seen the signs out there. And I look at housing and businesses in two different areas. Do we need more housing at this time? From what I'm reading, there's a pretty high percentage of empty houses still in Illinois.
It's gotten a lot better.
Yeah, and it is.
Yeah.
As long as the interest rates stay low and people are willing to, you get a lot of flippers still trying to buy stuff
Right.
and do that.
Right.
But still, there's still a number of vacancies in these homes. There's also thousands of shovel-ready projects ready to go as far as housing goes, and that's all great. But in El Dorado County, we've got that great business park down there in El Dorado Hills area that has a huge amount of space for industries. And I think we would be really good in the medical industry. Like I said, we talked about submarines being built in there. I think there's a number of things that we could attract El Dorado County. The infrastructure is pretty much there. Highway 50, it's there, it's busy, but I can handle some more. But I think it's
Most
still
of the time it's fine.
I think it's still at level F though when they look at the actual level grades of them. But
So you change your office hours?
well, you could, and telecommunicating would help as well. But I would like to see us. You talked about the position for somebody trying to advertise El Dorado County tourism director or whatever it may be, and you said the budget was like 800,000. Is that right?
That's what I read.
That's an awful lot of money. You'd think you
Right.
could get a couple of people to start knocking on doors all over and seeing, because I'm sure there's a number of companies that are looking to move. And my God, look at the lifestyle of El Dorado County.
Right.
What a great thing to offer your employees. Let's say you do have a high-end business, and you say, hey, you know what? Take a look at El Dorado County's got to offer. We've got all this great forest. We have the water. We have Lake Tahoe. I mean, we've got a lot of things to offer.
Yeah.
So that's the way I look at how do we attract these businesses, and that's why I would hope that we start doing things right and trying to get the jobs in here. And I think that's
So-
really important.
Businesses, work on a lot of levels. So you have your, creation of what are we going to do, and then that's intellectual, and then you move to the now how do we make a product, or how do we market a product, or how do we distribute a product?
Right.
And each of those segments all have businesses associated with them. Some are cleaner than others. Some take room this size.
Right.
And others take
Right.
warehouses.
Right.
But the internet connectivity is really important for business, I think.
Absolutely.
I don't think you can get around that
It's
anymore.
a no-brainer. You have to have it.
And that is improving, but it seems to be improving slowly.
Right.
There's state money, and they put in this wonderful orange line
Yeah.
all around.
Yeah, yeah.
And what has it done so far?
Yeah, not much. It
Not
went
much.
way past us. Never even our community.
Yeah.
They didn't
Yeah.
even care.
And basically they said, yeah, we're going to hook up, governmental agencies
Yeah,
first,
yeah.
and then if there's room. But by the time they play with it, I think it'll be very little that's hooked up, and it'll be wireless.
Yeah.
So I don't know, I don't even know where the money came from. I've heard it was federal, but
Yeah,
that's
I
as
have
far
no
as I
idea
could
either.
get.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
it's this mystery money.
Yeah, the whole thing was a little strange. It just started popping up, and I understand. I know AT&T put in a lot of fiber, and Verizon did too in certain areas. What they're looking for is high density housing,
Right.
and that you don't get that in El Dorado County.
Not a lot.
I mean, Cameron Park, parts of El Dorado Hills, a little bit of Placerville, but then pretty much we're all rural. I mean, even the area I'm at, this is minimum 2 acres. Well, most of it, is, like we have 10. Most of them are in 5 and 6 and 7 acre lots.
Yeah.
They don't call that high density.
No, that's where the wireless works well.
That's right, and that's about the only way to do it. Okay. One of the other people that came in that talked about a great opportunity for El Dorado County too is medical.
Right.
If we
Marshall's
can get
one of the biggest employers now.
Marshall's great, but
they keep expanding.
Yeah. They're doing a great job, and not so much a Marshall too, but trying to encourage some of the research and development companies coming into El Dorado County, again, because of all the reasons we've said. So I think it's important that when you get elected that you look at that job or whatever that is handling the tourism and handling the bringing businesses in, and really look at are we getting the best bang for our buck, and how can we help? Because that's usually what it is. It's usually that you get an area and this person's working their ass off, but they're not getting support.
Right.
And that's a tough thing. We got to make sure that we support the people that we put in those positions. What else would you consider? What else is high on your list as supervisor?
There are different management styles when you're working with county employees, and we have some very good employees. But I feel that we could do better with customer service a lot of times, and part of that is the way our county is designed and the way it's run. I think there are other counties who do a multiple level of management, and they will rotate managers actually from one department to another, which is like, oh my gosh, all of the institutional knowledge just disappeared. It doesn't disappear, it transfers, but it also gives somebody a different way of looking at something from another perspective. And then you can take secondary level management and work those people into being in charge of, let's say, a certain project or program to modify that, and it gives it a different set of eyes.
Right.
And then you bring the departments together, not for long meetings, not for drawn out, let's add more government, but to be able to say, hey, well, when we design this, let's design it so we can get it all done, one stop, easy enough, not make the multiple stops, and
Right.
allow the employees their intelligence to say, hey, here's the form. These are the problems you're going to find on this form.
Right.
So work around those this way, and you're going to also need to do this. And I've built 2 homes in the county.
Okay.
And I've had very good success with the people at the county for the most part. I've had a couple of very frustrating experiences. That doesn't make me run for office.
Right.
That's fine. I understand that, but I think the people working for the county, for the most part, really want to do a good job. And sometimes they're hampered because of the system itself. And government does that. It's a bureaucracy.
Exactly. Well, you get department heads that want to create a little serfdom. That this is my area, don't touch it, and I'm going to do what I do. And you said it, customer service. That seems to be what's lacking an awful lot. And particularly, you hear from people going to the building department and trying to go through that whole process, and it's sometimes they're just frustrated beyond belief.
Yeah.
And
And
so,
the regulations on businesses we talked about earlier,
Yeah.
trying to make that streamlined, trying to make it smooth,
Right.
and try to make it reasonable. I mean, we can enforce things very harshly, and we can enforce things legally, and they're not always the same.
Right. Yeah, I think I think you're right on with that. I think we need to make sure that the customer service is right. Make sure that our building and planning departments are running in such a way that that they're actually there for customer service. It seems to me that it becomes
It seems more regulatory.
Yeah. Well, it's them against us, and you get that mentality, and it just I don't understand it. I mean, they should be there to help you because we're paying their job. And
I think people want to, but I think the direction has been, here's how you do it.
Right.
And I've been, as I said, I've been happy with almost everything that I've done, and people are reasonable. It's hard to work around it sometimes, and I think it could be easier to do that.
What's your thought on term limits for supervisor?
I think it's a great idea.
Do you?
Yeah. Washington did the 2 terms, and then Roosevelt, surpassed that nicely with 4.
Right.
But you can. It's the same way. Where you get that institutional power that can get great things done if you have somebody that's great. I mean, a tyrant can be great for leading a country,
right.
but most of us really are fearful of tyrants.
Exactly.
And for good reason.
Yeah.
We've had some awful ones.
Yeah.
But no, I think term limits are good for
So
supervisors.
you're okay with that?
Yeah, everything else.
So we have a facilities problem in El Dorado County. We have buildings that have not been maintained, buildings that are falling down. We're leasing a huge amount of office space that just for a county doesn't make any sense as far as I'm concerned. Let's use an example of the sheriff's department.
Right.
They're in a building that's 60-some years old, and they're literally at a point where they can't do anything else to that building anymore. They can't repair it. They can't do anything. And it's been a long progress. I've known every sheriff since Dick Pasolio, and they've talked about facilities way back in 1982. Okay, they were talking about the problem. What's your feeling about that? I mean, should we be leasing office space when we have an ability and we have land and there's ways of actually building facilities?
I think you need to do the cost-benefit analysis.
Right.
And certainly if the buildings are too old and too hard to maintain and unsafe.
Right.
There's some great stories on that.
Yeah.
But if we look at the investment and return, and it's a reasonable investment, a reasonable return with a much better quality service, then it's probably a good thing to build a new building. Leases are good for short term. Leases are good if you don't want to do maintenance.
Right.
There's some great reasons to lease, but for a long-term county program, it probably makes sense to build.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to have a sheriff's department. We're going to have a jail.
Yeah, we're going to. Yeah, and we've got to do something with the sheriff's department. Those poor guys. I mean, I don't know if you go in and visit them or not, but there's people working in places in that particular building who should never be in there. I mean, it was one of the reasons why they couldn't be the jail anymore. So we can't put prisoners in that building, but we can put our employees there. Figure that one out, right? So, and of course you talk to the sheriff, and he would like to have all his guys, all his troops, all in one building so that they can share. And we talked about industrial knowledge, and so they have an ability to talk to each other and all be in one area and work together. So. I think we do have a facility situation that really needs to be looked at, and of course the courts are talking about the same thing too. I just, I hope that things are done wisely, and I think in the long term, personally, I think you'll save money by doing it right.
Yeah, I wouldn't be in favor of building a Taj Mahal.
Yeah,
but
right.
To build a reasonable facility that presents the county
Yeah.
in a good light,
Yeah.
that is extremely functional. That is safe for the employees. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you should.
Should be. I mean, I agree with you. I don't want to see marble lining the walls and frescoes everywhere.
Unless they're nice frescoes.
Well, I don't know. But no, you're absolutely right. Sometimes, in the past, and I don't think that's so much today as it was before, because today citizens are saying to their supervisors, or if they're in the city, their city council people, that we don't mind you having the facilities you need, but we don't want you to go ahead and spend this huge amount of money for something that isn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't fit the situation.
Neighboring county,
Yeah.
During the boom, overbuilt by a long way. We didn't.
Right.
We are not in debt right now, so we have some old facilities, but we're not
Right.
in debt, and
Right.
there's that balance. And
Yeah.
you have to be careful. I mean, it's our money as
Yeah.
taxpayers.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if done right, it's good. But what I saw through the years is, instead of being done right, it was not being done.
Right.
Okay, so it's like no answer is an answer. And I've been looking at this for years. I'm going, okay, I understand being fiscally responsible. I'm totally for that. And we're fortunate that we are in the black, unless we start talking about the retirement
Right. And that's
issue.
The looming ghost.
Yeah, and that one is, hopefully we figure out a way how we're going to answer some of solutions, because it's going to come to us soon. And, us baby boomers, most of us are retiring out at this point. And we're going to, like a lot, not only counties, but states and federal areas, they're looking at some huge retirement budgets that they don't know how they're going to pay.
Yeah, and that's a nationwide problem.
Yeah.
We look at failures of Stockton and Vallejo and Detroit,
Yeah.
and we have to be very, very cautious in how we spend. The county's just given some pretty decent raises to catch up for the last number of years.
Right.
So the employees would go, well, we're not even.
Right.
For me as a teacher, I think we got a 3% this year, and that's the first in 7 years.
Yeah.
So I'm okay making the salary I make. I don't need to be rich.
Right.
I don't need to have.
Well, you wouldn't have been a teacher
stuff.
if you would be
Well,
rich.
No.
Right.
My goal as a teacher was, can I help these kids?
Yeah.
And love them, encourage them, and help them to be better people and understand that they have a great future in front of them.
Right.
And that's
Right.
why.
Well, that's really good. And then quickly, the other thing I wanted to put out is, since we're talking about retirement, the other situation that seemed to amaze me is the inability to retain department heads. I was told
And other employees.
And other employees,
Yeah.
right. I was told in HR alone, there's been something, and the numbers are going to be wrong. I know somebody's going to yell at me at that, but it's been something like 16 department heads in 15 years. And it was like, really? Yeah. I mean, so some of our areas, we have some serious problems going on. I mean, if you can't retain a department head for a longer period of time, there's something going wrong.
I would agree.
Yeah. You don't want to go any further.
Answer that well.
Yeah.
Well, I know that we've tried really hard to keep certain salaries down, and the board simply cut some elected official salaries,
right,
to try to match them to the surrounding. They did a pretty reasonable study, I think,
Sure.
on that. The departments themselves, we've become evidently a really good training ground for other counties.
Yeah.
So we'll train, they'll stay 2 years, they'll get their experience and go, now
yeah, I can go make some money.
20-30% more. So the new increase was to try to help that. And I don't know that we will always keep everybody. Garden Valley Fire Department does an interesting program where they will they work with an ROP program with Golden Sierra High School. They bring in students, juniors and seniors. They train them. They become EMTs. They're ready to go, and it's a really great program. And the chief there, Bill Decker, says, we know we're not going to keep them. We know we can't compete with the city salaries, but we know we can have them here for a year or two. We can pay them $50 a shift, which is really cheap. They're ready to respond. They have their training. They're good to go. And they augment our full-time positions. So they've come up with a way on a limited budget to do a better job of providing services through a training program.
Yeah.
And we can do that in other areas in the county.
Yeah.
And it's not bad to be a training program.
Oh, no.
Because
no.
you're basically helping your young people to get marketable skills.
Right.
You're using them as interns, basically.
Right.
Which there's a negative backlash right now in the national scene on that one.
There is.
But it gives them the training they need to go on to get a decent paying, a good career job, like we were talking about earlier.
Sure.
And it's a great thing.
Yeah.
We have hired out a lot of work that's very expensive that we're not doing in-house. And again, the cost benefit, you look and you go, okay, what is that going to cost? We're putting in a freeway interchange right now that's $50 million. And there's a tremendous amount of consulting going into that.
Right.
And so could we pick up somebody and do that work? The department is saying, no, it's easier to go outside, it's cheaper, and liability-wise, you go outside, they're liable. Right. So there's some big concerns there, the legal issues.
Yeah.
But there's another position that was basically subbed out to an agency, and they were taking a matching salary basically for this position for their administration. And the county that just this year with a new department head said, hey, we can hire inside to do this. And the plan is to save about half that tremendous amount of money. So
that's a heck of a savings.
This one is tremendous savings.
Yeah.
But the county originally was going, we won't pay that much for somebody.
Right.
We'll sub it out.
Right.
So I really want to use the institutional knowledge we have to say what regulations are we doing that honestly aren't helping the county, that aren't helping attract businesses, that aren't helping homeowners, that aren't helping people as they come here for their their interaction with the county. How do we make that easier?
Right.
How do we make it so we serve the people of the county We're not a regulatory agency,
Right.
and that's critical.
You know, and that starts from the top on down. And, you know, when I asked you about term limits, we have a couple of offices that people have been in for 18, 19 years.
So elected offices.
Yeah, elected offices. And they get a huge bump every time they're reelected. You know, they get
Well, until this next election, right?
until this next election,
Right.
You know, so it's kind of interesting the way that works. But I really feel that, you know, when I hear the complaints, like complaints at the building department or planning department or wherever it may be, and you hear the complaints about it, that always tells me there's something wrong with the leadership, and it starts from the top down. You know, because if you're a department head,
Well, it can also be the state saying these are the requirements that you have to jump in.
understood.
It's a huge amount.
And there's a lot of people don't understand that, you know, there's some things that we have to charge
Right.
that we have no control about. But I'm not talking so much about fees, and I'm just talking about the interaction that residents have with departments. It's not been great. It really hasn't. And I know some of the departments are working on it. But again, I think it stems from the top down. I think that's one of the things that even the supervisors, as a group, need to address and make sure that they, you know, hey, we need to be here for our people. We can't forget that.
I think using the chief administrative officer in the capacity that they are to run the county.
Right.
So, you know, I'm not a micromanager.
Right.
My job is not to go there and go, hey, but it is to make that position aware
Right.
of this
Right.
is what the citizens
This
are
is our
feeling. This is a
concerns,
political
this is what I'm
job.
hearing, yeah.
Is that really it's an ombudsman
Yep.
and an overseer.
Right.
And a lot of people forget the ombudsman part. You know, you have the voice that is powerful, you know, because of the position, not because of, you know, who you are.
True. Yeah, absolutely. And the reason I look at the supervisors is because usually when a citizen's upset about something, who are they going to pick up the phone to? They're
Right.
going to pick up the phone to the guy they elected.
Right.
Guy, gal, whatever.
Right.
And then now you as the supervisor, you have to decide how you're going to deal with this problem.
Right.
Right.
Well, you have to identify, is it a real problem?
Is it or not? Yeah.
Right.
Because you're always going to get people going to complain about everything. Doesn't matter
Well,
what it is. Right.
That's human nature.
Yeah, you know. So yeah, that's human nature. It's going to do that. But so you know, we've identified a lot of things here, and you know, and I was talking. I'm going to jump right back for just a moment into what I consider El Dorado County being somewhat unbusiness friendly. And that stems, I think, for some of the tax structure that we've built in here. And it I know everybody does it to a certain degree, but I got one little one that drives me crazy.
Okay.
Small little business here.
Yep.
You know, there's a couple of us just trying to run it. We buy all this equipment, and then, of course, we get in the mail from the auditor controller is that you have to pay unsecured property taxes. So not only do I have to pay sales tax on it, but every year I have to continue to pay a tax on owning that product every year.
So you have a car, right?
Yeah.
You pay registration fees every year, DMV
Yeah,
fees.
yeah.
Do you worry about those?
I do.
Yeah. So we have a tremendous, you know, when they talk about, you know, taxes, you know, political science class.
Sure.
Taxes in the United States are very low compared to most first world countries. But most first world countries are offering healthcare and many other things. When we add our taxes up, they're actually pretty high. I mean, when you start to, I love when a student gets a job and say, hey, how was that first paycheck? They
Yeah.
go, I thought I was going to get.
Yeah, I thought I was going to make some money.
Yeah. But you know, if the taxes aren't reasonable, what services are we offering that we want to eliminate? Because it comes down to that.
Right.
So you can't just go cut taxes. You have to go, if we're cutting taxes, what services? So it's a true balancing act, and everything you want to add, you know, you have to cut something. Unless there's, you know, extra money floating around somewhere.
Yeah.
You know, there's a carryover each year, which is judicious. You
Right.
want to have that.
Right.
If the carryover is too much, cool charity. We were very successful in our fundraising. We did a charity ball dinner,
Yeah.
which was wonderful, and you had to dress up, and you know, that made the men come with their wives, and because their wives made them, yeah. And
Yeah.
but it was a wonderful event that we did once a year. People became saying, "Hey, there's a need here. Let's meet the need." 7-8 years ago, we stopped doing the dinner, not because we didn't enjoy the dinner. It wasn't a great community, bringing people together,
Sure.
but because we had about $9,000 in the bank, and our goal wasn't let's raise money and put it in the bank. Our goal was, let's raise money for the needs in our community, and let's take care of those needs.
Right.
But we didn't want to waste money. So it's taken us 7 years, because people keep going, hey, here's a $500 check. We sold a quilt, and here's the ladies golfers, and we wanted to give you this. And so the donations came in, and our spending continued to meet the needs. And now we're down to about what we want our seed money to be. So we've balanced that back out. We haven't asked for more than we needed.
Right.
And we've continued to provide the services because of the generosity in other areas. And I think that's really what we need to look at. Anytime we look at cutting taxes, increasing taxes, cutting or increasing services, it's not what the market will bear. Because we can always increase taxes. And people go, I have to pay those.
Yeah.
I know you're a big fan of the fire tax, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, fee. Did I say fee?
Yeah. No, you said it right. You call it what it is.
Yeah, and I look at it and I go, I'm already paying taxes for the local fire department. I've got 3 fire departments within reach of me. And what are they doing with the money? I haven't seen, they're doing some brush clearing, but I haven't seen that much money spent out. And so it begs the question.
Yeah, it does.
Is it a reasonable tax, or are we getting back what we need to?
Yeah. Yeah, no, that is a hot button issue for a lot of people, and I understand it.
I don't like the way it was passed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If
you're gonna put a tax in, put it the right way.
Yeah.
And then if you put it in, and everybody goes, yeah, okay, we vote on this, it's good. Yes, this makes sense. Let's do it.
Can't complain with that. I mean, if you do it that way. So, all right. Well, Tim, we've wrapped up our time. We actually hit 40 minutes. That's pretty good.
That is good. You want to go for an hour?
Yeah. Well, we can keep going. What I'd like to do though is there anything that we didn't talk about that you want to bring up, and anything that you want to tell our audience out there, other than vote for me and help me out?
Well, I think vote for the best person.
Yeah.
Vote for the person that you think will represent you well, that will think things through, that will be considerate on the issues, and not simply here's a catch answer that seems good. Really get to some depth. Look at the full circle of issues, and not just here's the hot button. I mean, right now we've been pushed with land and building by all the initiatives, and so that became the issue of the election. It's one area.
Right.
Or we have about a $580 million budget in our county. Most of it's health and human services. Are we meeting those needs? Are we doing a good job? You mentioned the sheriff's building. What other structures, are out there, and what other needs are out there? There's meetings all the time with all the different groups, and everybody wants something.
Sure.
And that's great. And there's so many volunteers that want to help.
Right.
That's great.
Right.
So the coordination of that, and the working with that, and working with other counties in a way where we can say, hey, we don't have to reinvent this. You're doing this to change management structure. You're doing this to work, with the other counties in a cooperative way to attract business to the region, the SACOG and things. Are those programs truly beneficial, or do they just sound good?
Right.
So when you choose a candidate, you certainly could choose me. But I'm not the only candidate. There are 8 of us. And, I look at the candidates and I go, this is too many candidates to make an easy decision. It's
a tough one.
It is a tough one.
Yeah.
And I know that I will offer the best that I have. If you know anybody that knows me, contact them and ask them.
Right.
Ask about integrity. Ask about fulfilling commitments and following through. Ask about character, and those things really do matter. And I have a hard time talking about that. I have a hard time putting my name on street corners.
Yeah.
It's an uncomfortable thing, because as outgoing as I am, and socially, and I love social mixing.
Right.
I'm also a very private person, and I don't think it's proper to you're asking me questions about why are you good for this.
Right.
And there's an awful lot of boards I've been on, $1 million budgets, all that kind of stuff that absolutely matters in running the county. But when you talk about it, it sounds like you're elevating yourself.
Yeah.
That you're there.
See, I always said what politics make for strange bedfellows, and sometimes I understand. Some people don't have any problems whatsoever.
Yeah.
And some of them are just totally, that's cool. I like it. It's out there and it's fine. So I understand what you're going through, but having run a number of campaigns, somehow you've got to, the number one issue. And folks out there, the number one issue about running for a position is money.
Right.
Right? I've seen in a small supervisorial run of over $150,000.
Right. I could lose this election because I'm not actively seeking large money. I've actually written, responses to people saying, hey, we'd love to, look at endorsements.
Yeah.
And I've said, I like this, this, and this about what you do. And I'm really excited about, improving these things. But I'm leery of attaching myself to a group or an ideology or, a thought process that says this is who I am.
Right.
I want to look at things evenly and equally. Yeah. And I want to look at things objectively without that weight. And I don't know that I can win an election doing this.
Yeah, it's going to be tough because we've got a number of PACs out there.
Right.
That, they want to give you money, but they also want something for it.
Right. And my integrity, honestly, right now.
Yeah.
Now this might change, after June 3rd.
Right.
But is to say, I mean, my biggest donor was my father. He gave me $500.
Mm-hmm.
I've had another couple who gave me $200 twice, but everybody else is $100 or less.
Sure.
And I've got, old plywood on half my signs and, stapled them up myself. And, the T-posts were from my brother's place. He pulled them out with his backhoe, bent them all up. I used my log splitter to straighten them.
Right.
I'm willing to work.
Right.
But I'm not willing to compromise.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't mean I won't, help the Builders Association with better regulations that make sense for everybody.
Sure.
It doesn't mean I won't help the unions because we negotiate with 13 different unions.
Right.
There are the right things to do.
Right.
But I don't want to be owned.
Yeah, I understand that. I mean, it's almost like you take the PAC money in particular. Sometimes you feel
that's a lot of money. They want to win this election.
They do,
and they have a lot of good they can bring to the county. But the long-term costs of some of the things they're proposing
right.
Are very expensive for all of us, not just for them. They're not paying the long-term costs.
Yeah. Well, fortunately, you must have some time that you're actually studying those dollars and figures, because the last thing I want to hear is a Pelosi where we got to pass a bill to know what's in it. Yeah. And I cringe every time I think of somebody in her position saying that. But anyway, you do. The evil of running for office is that the reality, you have to raise money.
Right.
And one of the reasons, that we're here is that people get a chance to see you in a way that, they probably normally can't. And they can make some decisions if they want to give you $5, $10. We have the same situation. We run 100% donations.
Yeah.
If there's somebody, we tell everybody, $5, even $5 helps. You don't have to be afraid. We'll be glad to take it. We're a little shameless with that, but we don't push it. And
well, say it again, though. Go ahead.
Yeah, hit that donate button. That's what I always tell them. We do that when we do the.
You get the free mug.
That's right. You get a free bottle of water while you're at it. Too, so. But hey, I want to thank you very much for coming and spending time with us. It's been great. You see my interview style. I like to just sit and talk like we would be drinking over coffee, and I think it's the best way of doing it. And I'm hoping that the audience out there got an opportunity to see what Tim is all about. And
were there any questions you had that I didn't answer? Because you asked me that, I'd like to.
Yeah. Let's wait until after the primary.
Okay.
Yeah, because there's questions I ask before going in it, and then I'll get to the nitty gritty as we go on.
Yeah.
Because I think there's some studying. The way I look at a primary, especially with, you said 8 people are running, right?
Right now.
Yeah. So especially with that number running, you can't really do the research and the stuff that I'm going to expect when you get into that runoff.
Right.
I'm going to want little harder facts and dollars and cents and numbers, and that's when we really get into it.
Right.
I mean, let's really talk about it then. Right now, you just need to survive that June date, right?
Well, honestly, there's the May roughly 5th date when the mail-in ballots go out.
Right.
And so that's a big chunk. And then you have the June 3rd date.
Yeah.
And, June 3rd, very late in the night, early in the morning of the 4th, you'll have a celebratory party of one kind or another.
Yes. Yeah, you will. Yeah. But that's, that's what's great about, you decided to get out there and truly grassroots and put yourself out. And like I said, most people, I won't. So.
Well, it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But it's. I have a lot of people who believe in me and support me. Probably more than I believe in myself. Now that I'm not saying that in a negative way.
Right.
But it's when you're doing it, there's a lot of self-questioning that goes on.
Right.
And there's a lot of positives to the job because you can help people. Mm-hmm. And that's the reason for doing it. Mm-hmm. And that's the big reason for doing it.
one of the things that was difficult for me all the time is, and we were talking about raising money, is that so many people want to give you money, but they want something in return.
Right.
And when you're running for an office like supervisor, one is you're only one vote out of 5.
Right.
You can't make promises anyway that probably don't. You just can't do that. So I often look at when the report comes out as to the contributions and who gave what.
Yep.
I study that and I look at where that money's coming from and who's doing what, and then I start thinking, okay, what's behind this?
Right.
You start looking at that point, and hopefully there's integrity out there. And I think for the most part, El Dorado County's been fairly lucky in getting people that were sincere, but sometimes they were sincere their first term. And then the second term, they start changing a little bit. And you see that in federal government, state government, whatever it may be. I mean, our poor congressmen, in this country, they're doing nothing but campaigning all the time.
Right.
2 years, you don't have a choice. You're campaigning all the time.
We could do a great history lesson on the setting up of the founding fathers and the what is actual democracy set up in the system and how they weakened different parts to make it,
Right.
pretty well controlled.
Right.
And, Congress was the one area with the democracy, but the most unstable.
Yeah.
And you can change it every 2 years completely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you had the indirect election of others and appointments, and you start to go, oh, there wasn't a lot of democracy because it was brand new and it was scary.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely scary.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. These guys are something else. I mean, to write the Bill of Rights and to do what they did, when you read those things, it's just, the thought of what they went through. Here we're in history now. We're talking about supervisors, but here you and I can talk history at all times.
The Constitution matters to what we do.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, you do. And when you get in, you take an oath of office, and you're taking an oath to defend your country.
Yep. You have the U.S. and the state constitution.
That's right.
And the state constitution is 10 times longer
than
the U.S. Constitution.
Can you imagine that?
It's got details that you just go, wow.
Yeah. I've taken that oath a few times, and I've had it's serious. And, a lot, but some people don't. But I think we've been pretty fortunate in El Dorado County overall, with some exceptions. We've done okay. But I'm really hoping that moving forward, I feel like we're in a new era for El Dorado County, because I've never seen these districts. Well, first of all, with the redistricting, that changed an awful lot of things, and then so many people willing to run. It's amazing.
It's wonderful.
Yeah. Oh,
it really
absolutely.
is.
Good on them. But the hard part, of course, is getting your voice out and getting people to know who you are and seeing that. And it's difficult because until we've gotten this media, this will be, everybody in the world will be able to see, our interview here shortly in a day or two. And until the advent of this, that was never the case. So you always had to go to these town hall meetings, or you didn't go to town hall meetings, and you asked your neighbor, well, who should I vote for? And your neighbor says, well, vote for Jim. Why?
Let's go Tim for the example, just for fun.
Okay. So in this case, the other guy says, no, I want to go for Tim. And, but that's, and that's the beauty of what we're doing now. We're giving an opportunity for people to see you and learn a bit about you. And I want them to do that with all the candidates that are willing to come in here and sit down and just talk. And we've been pretty lucky. We've had a number of people, but we still have a number that are scared to death of me for some reason. I don't know what that is. I think they're afraid I'm going to pin them down. That's not my style. I don't roll that way, as they say.
Well, I'm pretty good at saying, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and I don't, and me too. I mean, that's why I ask questions many times. I don't have the answer. And I hope that, you had the answer for me, and I thought you brought up some great points, and I hope the audience thinks so too. So, Tim, I want to thank you for coming on in.
It was a pleasure.
Really appreciate it.
Could I just plug my website?
Absolutely.
Because that's another way of looking at stuff.
Absolutely.
So it's Tim Palmer, FORSUP, .net.
Good.
And it has way more history and background and jobs and business stuff I've done and all that stuff.
I took the time to go through it, and Jonathan will make sure that we get a link from our site to Tim's site. So,
well, I really appreciate the time
Sure.
and you being willing to fund yourself and do these things and help out and honestly get the word out of the candidates, what they stand for. To me, it's important to get somebody good in there. In each of the positions.
Absolutely.
And it does make a difference. This is local politics. This is where the services are provided to the people.
Right.
this is it.
Well, I had a good friend that always told me, it starts at the school board level and on up. And, you need to be involved. And it's like I've told the young people that say, did you vote? And, they go, well, no. Well, why not? Vote doesn't count. That's not true. 2 years ago, when elections, we did a close. We'll do a second close here. 2 years ago, we decided to go to elections and show the process. Bill Schultz was wonderful. He opened up the elections on election day. We went
They do a
with our
great job.
crew. Yeah, they do. And went with our crew. We got our film cameras in there, and we filmed everything. We filmed the machines counting the ballots. We showed what the people were doing. And one of the things I really enjoyed the most was that we set up outside and kind of did a man on the street type of thing. As people were coming in, would take a moment to talk to us and talk about the election and why you voted. And the thing that hit me the dearest is there was a young couple, I would say maybe early 20s. This is the first time they ever voted in their life. And I said, tell us a little bit. Why did you want to come and vote? Finally, they finally said, I came from a family, and my dad said that he has voted every time in his life, and I never got involved with it. And she said, I guess there was a school daycare program or something she wanted to see. She says, and I decided I wanted to get involved, and I voted for the very first time. And she was very proud, and her husband was too. And that, to me, that was the coolest thing of the whole time, was watching these people come in and vote for the very first time. And I thought that was really neat. And that video is still up on our site, so if you guys want to see that.
I would like actually to see that for a civics class possibly.
It's a good one. It's really good. And
we have Barbara Doctor from the elections department comes out and talks to the kids, and we do a voter registration drive. So at 17, you can pre-do the paperwork and get going and explain how important it is. And most kids take it seriously.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Yeah, they need to do that because we need to get the kids voting again. I mean, believe it or not, for those of you out there in the early 70s, that's what got the younger people in voting more, because the Vietnam War really split the country. And it was the time where finally us kids, or starting college and all that, finally felt that we had a voice.
Well, there was a reason to vote.
And there was a reason, and a big reason to vote.
As long as government goes on and everything seems fine, people go, I've got other things in my life.
Yeah.
So when there's trouble, people vote.
People vote.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's so easy to vote nowadays. I mean, you don't even, absentee ballots are just perfect. You can do it in you're drinking your coffee, you can do it in the morning. Yep. Study the issues, read the issues, try to learn. I know one of the things that irritates me the most is you get these mailers. And just for you guys out there, if you don't know this, you'll get a mailer and it'll say Republican mailer.
Right.
Or Democrat mailer, whatever it may be. And it lists vote for this person, this person, this person, this person, it lists them out. Well, when you look at it, you go, well, wait a minute. I happen to know that this person is not a Republican. He's a very liberal Democrat. And, I mean, how can that be? So be aware that the mailers you get out there may not be true.
They're sponsored. Your people are paying to have their name on that mailer. And they are also called slates.
That's right.
And you can get a slate pretty cheap. I haven't done any because I look at slates and I go, is this worthwhile?
Yeah.
And I throw it away. Read the sample ballot.
Yeah.
And look at the opinions, look at the candidate statements, and see what they're saying, see what's important to them.
Right.
That's going to matter a whole lot more.
Now, I know because there's so many people running, it's hard to get through that. But spend the time to do it. And like I say, always question. We have a statement in here. We question everything.
Right.
And take the time to question motives.
Yep.
Reasons for running, are they telling the truth in there? Because not everybody tells the truth. People are good at making up some stories about themselves. So take the time out there, educate yourself, and vote. And Tim, again, we'll wrap this up.
Again, a second time.
Thank you very much.
Another 2 minutes, we got that hour.
That's it. We got that hour. I'm going to finish that up. And
thanks for having me.
This is Rob. You bet. This is Rob with Old Guy Tech TV, and we do interviews. And this was an interview with Tim Palmer running for District 4 Supervisor in El Dorado County. And thank you for watching us. And keep watching. And don't forget to hit that donation button. We'll see you next time.